Rome did not fall in a single night. It bled. Slowly, quietly, and most of the wounds were inflicted by Rome itself. What happens when the greatest army on earth stops protecting its people and starts consuming them? To understand Rome's darkest moments, you must step into the boots of a Roman soldier, not the marble statue version. It's the real one. Hungry, afraid, obedient, trapped inside a system that rewarded brutality and punished doubt. The Roman army was not just a fighting force. It was a machine designed to break men and rebuild them into tools of the state. A Roman soldier's day began before sunrise. Cold air, stiff muscles. Orders barked without explanation. Training drills were relentless, marching for miles in full armor, digging trenches after exhaustion set in. Discipline was enforced through pain, flogging, demotion, execution in front of comrades. Fear was not a side effect, it was the fuel. Rome believed fear created loyalty. For a time it worked, but fear has consequences. The first dark moment came not from defeat, but from arrogance. When Roman legions marched into unfamiliar territory, they believed discipline alone could conquer anything. Soldiers trusted their commanders absolutely. That trust would be betrayed. Entire legions were led into ambushes they could not escape. Not because Rome lacked strength, but because leaders ignored warnings, silenced scouts, and underestimated enemies. When the trap closed, Roman soldiers died screaming in forests, ravines, and foreign lands far from home. It was the realization that obedience had led them to die without meaning. What haunted survivors was not just the slaughter. Rome never liked to remember those moments. Official records were rewritten, names were erased, but soldiers remembered. Memory changes men. The second dark moment came when discipline turned inward. Rome punished failure mercilessly. But at some point, punishment became ritualized cruelty. Soldiers accused of cowardice were beaten to death by their own unit. Decimation was used not as justice, but as terror. 1 in 10 men killed by lottery, regardless of guilt. Imagine standing in formation, knowing survival depended on chance. Watching friends dragged away to die, not for betrayal, but to remind you that your life belonged to Rome. This was not training. It was psychological domination. Soldiers learned to suppress empathy, to detach, to obey, even when orders violated conscience. Religion reinforced this control. Roman military rituals blurred the line between faith and obedience. Soldiers swore sacred oaths to commanders, not just the state. Breaking an order became a spiritual crime. Gods were invoked before battles, before punishments, before executions. Disobedience was not just treason, it was sacrilege. The third dark moment unfolded when Rome's armies turned against its own people. Civil wars shattered the illusion of unity. Roman soldiers marched not against foreign enemies, but against fellow Romans. Villages burned, civilians were slaughtered. Brothers fought brothers under different banners. For soldiers, the moral conflict was unbearable. Who is the enemy when both sides wear Roman armor? The system offered no answers, only orders. Men were forced to commit atrocities against their own culture. To sack cities that once fed them. To kill citizens who spoke the same language, worshipped the same gods, shared the same laws. The army became a weapon of political ambition. Generals promised rewards, land, wealth, protection for families. Soldiers were encouraged to transfer loyalty from Rome itself to individual leaders. The oath meant less than survival. This shift was fatal. Once soldiers learned loyalty could be bought, Rome lost control of its own war machine. The fourth dark moment came in the camps at night, when discipline loosened and darkness revealed hidden habits. Roman military life was rigid by day and chaotic by night. Gambling flourished. Violence erupted. Forbidden relationships formed in secret. Soldiers were officially forbidden to marry for much of Rome's history. But human need does not vanish under law. Men formed attachments anyway, to local women, to fellow soldiers, to anyone who offered warmth in a life defined by hardness. Commanders knew this and exploited it. Threats against loved ones became leverage. Affairs became tools of blackmail. Emotional bonds were manipulated to force obedience. Soldiers learned that intimacy was dangerous, that caring too deeply made you vulnerable. Trust dissolved. The army that once prided itself on brotherhood became fractured by suspicion. The fifth and darkest moment arrived when Rome's army no longer needed enemies to destroy itself. As the empire expanded, the army changed. Recruits came from distant provinces with little attachment to Rome's ideals. Discipline remained brutal, but meaning disappeared. Soldiers no longer fought for the Republic or the Empire. They fought for pay, for commanders, for survival. Corruption spread through the ranks. Supplies were stolen. Civilians were extorted. Violence became routine, even without orders. Rome's army, once the backbone of civilization, became a roaming force of coercion. Religious rituals lost sincerity. Oaths became hollow. Punishments escalated because fear no longer worked the way it once had. When discipline relies only on terror, it must constantly grow harsher to maintain control. And eventually it fails. The daily life of a Roman soldier near the end of the empire was bleak. Rations were thin. Pay was delayed. Promises were broken. Veterans were discarded once usefulness ended. Men who survived decades of war returned home to nothing. No land, no honor, no place in society. The system that demanded everything from them offered nothing in return. This betrayal broke Rome from within. Soldiers began choosing sides based on who paid more. Emperors rose and fell at the whim of the army. The military no longer served Rome. Rome served the military. And that inversion destroyed the empire. Rome's darkest moments were not single disasters. Oh, they were patterns, repeated choices, moral compromises made in the name of order. Fear replaced trust. Control replaced loyalty. Violence replaced meaning. The Roman army became a reflection of Rome's soul, powerful, disciplined, and hollow. What makes this history unsettling is not its distance, 'tis its familiarity. Rome did not collapse because it lacked strength. It collapsed because it forgot why that strength existed. And in the end, the greatest army the world had ever known stood surrounded not by enemies, but by the ruins of the values it had crushed along the way. The stones of Rome still stand. But if you listen closely, they do not tell stories of glory. They whisper warnings.